Well, if you don't have the flu, there is a good chance you know someone who does.
That's because flu season is definitely here in New Mexico. In fact, we are one of the worst states in the whole country for it right now. News 13's David Romero is here with more. David, what can we do about this?
Well, Matt, if you didn't get your flu shot and you're one of the unlucky ones to have caught it, there's not a whole lot you can do, but you're not alone. Now, according to the activity map from the CDC, in the course of 1 week, the spread of cases in New Mexico went from a level of regional to widespread. Now, that's the same situation for a strong majority of the country as well. In tracking cases, the CDC breaks the country down into 10 regions. New Mexico sits in the second highest tier of patient visits for influenza. Now, physicians here say that about 40% of the patients they have seen for the flu have the virus. Now, all those patients affected have displayed the same full symptoms of either influenza A or B. Medical professionals still recommend that people who haven't gotten the flu shots to get one immediately. They also recommend that people should practice the usual washing of hands and avoid sick people. Doctors say the situation is expected to get worse before it gets better.
Fortunately, thank God, no deaths that we're aware of. There's been 4 pediatric deaths in the healthcare region, so flu is something you take seriously.
Seriously indeed. Now, coming up in the next half hour, we'll give a little breakdown on some of the so-called flu remedies out there and how they may help or not. Matt, back to you.
All right, thank you, David. Looking forward to that. Now, once again, as David and the doctor mentioned, they say it is not too late to get a flu shot. They're usually free if you have health insurance. All right, the water war between Texas and New Mexico is now headed all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
So there's a Texas agency that says New Mexico is illegally pumping water meant for Texas farmers and residents of El Paso. Back in 2008, the feds put a new agreement in place awarding Texas a larger share of the Rio Grande's 1,900-mile surface water. New Mexico cried out, claiming that the state was allowed to use its groundwater and sued the feds. Well, now Texas is suing New Mexico in the U.S. Supreme Court, claiming New Mexico is illegally taking billions of gallons of water that should be going downstream. New Mexico Attorney General Gary King responded, saying Texas was trying to steal the state's water and bully it into a deal with the feds. The AG's office had previously claimed that the deal would cost New Mexico farming economy nearly $200 million a year. The governor's office also responded, by the way, saying that the state still needed to review the lawsuit, but said flat out, quote, "We won't cede a single inch of New Mexico water to Texas," end quote. New this morning, Governor Susana Martinez is scheduled to speak at an Albuquerque Economic Forum to discuss her agenda. Just yesterday, she outlined her education plans for the upcoming legislative session. She is pushing to spend $13 million on a program to help students read proficiently by the time they reach 4th grade. Well, she is also asking for $5 million to help struggling schools and $11 million to recruit and award effective teachers. News 13 is continuing to get calls and emails from frustrated, unemployed New Mexicans who are trying to get through the Department of Workforce Solutions' new system.
So we asked the state about these so-called problems, and guess what? It says there are not any of them. This new unemployment system started on Sunday. Then just a day later, on Monday, the state got flooded with 94,000 calls with people saying the system wasn't working. And despite that, the state says, no, the system is actually working just fine.
We know that 80% of all of those frustrations, 80% of the people that are experiencing any type of problem, it's related to the type of claim that they're involved with. That EUC program and the passage of the extension is very complicated.
Now, what's also complicated is what is going on with Wells Fargo and how people get their unemployment money. The bank says there was a coding error that prevented people from getting deposits for the last few days, but it should be fixed right now. And Governor Susana Martinez is also talking about this unemployment and workforce solutions issue, and she also blames Wells Fargo and callers, saying they are just giving up too soon.
People were calling multiple times. They'll call and they'll say, people will be told, you're going to be answered in the order that the call was received. They'll hang up and they'll call 10 minutes later. That doesn't help.
Once again, the state got 94,000 calls just on Monday, but it turns out the state says they were from the same 12,000 people. The governor says she knows you might have to wait a while, but to hang on and not hang up. Now, you might remember the state had a similar problem with unemployment 2 years ago. At that time, it hired more people to answer the phones to help fix it. Elizabeth?
Later today, New Mexico Senator Tom Udall is set to be in Santa Fe to meet with small business leaders and employees They'll be discussing their successes in creating jobs for the state's economy while protecting its environment. And this morning, Tanya Giddings, a government relations officer for the University of New Mexico, seen right here, is waking up as the new Bernalillo County assessor. She is taking former assessors Karen Montoya's seat after she left to be on the Public Regulation Commission. She won that seat in November.
Illinois is about to join New Mexico in allowing illegal immigrants to have driver's licenses. The state house there has approved a bill giving them licenses for 3 years. The state Senate has already passed it, and Illinois' governor says he'll sign it. Governor Susana Martinez here in New Mexico tried to get the state to stop giving illegal immigrants licenses. For the past 2 years, she has failed, but she'll try again in just a week with this legislative session. Well, one couple here in Albuquerque is hoping to get its furniture back today after it says a moving company took them for a real ride. So for now, Carla Solomon and her husband here are sitting in a very empty apartment. Take a look at that with their dog. They just moved here from California. They hired a company called Royal Relocation to move their stuff. Now, Carla says the couple got a quote for $954. Not a bad price. But once their stuff was on the truck, that all changed.
My husband looked at me and he goes, "It's going to be $4,200. And I went, huh?
Yeah, it's a big difference, $900 and some to $4,200. So now Carla and her husband there trying to find the money so they can get their stuff. She's also complained to California's Attorney General about this, and certainly moving complaints are one of the most common ones. In fact, the federal government says something along the lines of 3,000 people complain about moving companies every single year.
Yeah, that's not a good feeling when that happens to you.
No, it's not. You got to read the fine print, be very, very careful. All right.